Hi, it's Irene Weinberg, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. Before we get started with the episode, make sure to like and subscribe wherever you're listening or watching so you never miss an episode. Every week, we share heartfelt stories, spiritual insights, and practical guidance to help you navigate grief and trauma, find hope, and discover rebirth after loss. By subscribing, you'll get access to every episode and join our supportive community on this journey. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. Hi, everyone. I hope this message finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you today from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to welcome Edith B. Kiss, a remarkable woman whose life journey embodies the very heart of grief, healing, and profound rebirth. Edith, whose name means joy, is a holistic mentor, success habit coach, a #1 best-selling author, the humanitarian award winner, and an international speaker. After a 15-year career in petroleum engineering, Edith courageously stepped into her true calling, guiding people from deep emotional suffering to inner peace, often within just 30 days. Edith blends ancient healing traditions with modern neuroscience to help individuals overcome depression, panic attacks, PTSD, and insomnia. Her work includes Reiki healing, family constellation therapy, and emotional trauma release, all rooted in her own transformative journey towards health and wholeness. As a professionally trained Reiki Master, a Sekhem Healer, Karma Yogi practitioner, and neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, Edith brings a powerful toolkit to her clients, helping them create the life they imagine, reconnect them with their inner strength, and experience a renewed sense of self. She's also the author of On the Healer's Journey and the upcoming The Gap Filler Success. One of the many inspiring stories Edith shares is her own transformation, losing 40 pounds at age 42, an empowering reminder that healing is not only possible, but life-changing at any age. I'm looking forward to talking with Edith, who is joining us from London, about the body-mind-soul connection, how and why she became a healer, the grief she experienced, and how she dealt with it, and why mindfulness is important. We'll also explore how Edith helps people to heal from depression, panic attacks, PTSD, and insomnia in just 30 days, and how she lost 40 pounds at age 42, and more, for an inspiring conversation, surely filled with wisdom, hope, and the powerful truth that rebirth is always within reach. Hi there, and welcome to the International Award-winning Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author, and trauma survivor, Irene Weinberg, here to support you wherever you are on your healing journey. Each week, I connect with leading grief and trauma experts, intuitive healers, mediums, and inspiring voices who share powerful stories of loss, resilience, and transformation. If you're searching for hope, meaning, and a path forward after loss or trauma, you're in the right place. Together, let's rediscover joy, healing, and the possibility of rebirth. Hi, Edith. A warm, heartfelt welcome to
Hi,
the
Irene.
Rebirth podcast.
Hi, Irene. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And your accent, you're originally from Hungary, is it?
Yes, I am from Hungary.
And now you live in London. It was fascinating learning about you. You've had quite an interesting life.
Thank you.
So let's start with where you began. You had a 15-year career in petroleum engineering, and then you courageously stepped into your true calling, guiding people from deep emotional suffering to inner peace. Can you share with us that journey and how and why you became a healer?
Yeah, actually, the first step, I think, towards healing modalities and to actually understand this kind of healing, it happened in my 20s when I started to have panic attacks. And then during my panic attacks, I was given a medication, and then I didn't like it. It even freaked me out even more. So actually, when I decided to, I was looking for some natural modalities, so how can I heal myself, feel better? I was using some herbs, first to manage it. I also got into Reiki healing. That's helped me to manage it. And then, so I was just managing it for like a decade with Reiki, with family constellation therapies, and with some herbs. And then after like 15 years, I was introduced to karma yoga healing. And with the karma yoga healing, I started to shift many other things in my life, many other physical illnesses as well, and other patterns, So it was so magical and so powerful that's what made me the decision like, oh my God, this is something I would love to show to people. I would love to help them with these modalities. And it was like within 5 months, I literally decided to move to London to establish my healing business while I was still doing some engineering work for a while, for like a year. But I already made the decision because that tool, that modality was really powerful.
And why did you decide to take it to London?
It was a calling. So I was actually, after I did the meditation with the mentor in Hungary, I was traveling to London for an event. And then as I was sitting in the taxi going from the airport to the hotel, suddenly I started to cry. I'm not a crybaby. I don't cry about anything. So it was just like, why am I crying in the taxi? What's happening? And then suddenly came to me the word home. And I was like, home? Where? Here in London? I don't like London. I've been there a couple of times on a trainings, and then I always felt like it's crowded, it's outdated, I don't know, I just didn't like it. And that time when it came to me like home, I was like, is it London? Is it UK? Or what is it about? So then I was just like, okay, relax. So it took me another couple of weeks and the months to actually see more signs, more synchronicity started to come. And then I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I need to follow, like the breadcrumbs of the universe. So, and then this started from the first meditation with the mentor. So the pineal gland activation, which started to open up this portal and brought me all of these synchronicities. So basically I was called to move to London, and then it happened back in 2018. So now I clearly see in these 8 years that why I had to move to London and how it actually shifted and changed my life. So I'm really grateful, for listening to these callings. Yeah.
Wonderful. And it sounds like you did all these modalities to help you heal and transform your emotional wounds. And what inspired and enabled you to lose 40 pounds at 42?
Oh yeah, so that was even before karma yoga healing. So that was a year earlier when I was overweight. I actually quit 9 to 5 because of that, because I'm not just overweight. I felt sluggish, I felt tired, I felt exhausted. And then I had 2 little, not that little, but like a 5 years old, a 4 years old, and okay, so my daughter was like 4.5 and my son was like 10. So I was wanted to spend more time with them. I had the mommy guilt, spending all day in office and working hard. And then after office, I couldn't feel like going to playing tennis or doing gym. I wanted to go back to them, so it was like I had no time to do wellness for myself because I prioritized being a mom, after work. So it's ended up being me eating unhealthy food as well, and then stressed out, and then having an unhealthy body. So I felt very overweight and sluggish and unhappy. So I quit 9 to 5, and then we moved to New Zealand because we wanted to relocate. So the immigration office allowed us to stay there for 7 months finding jobs, and we couldn't. But during those times, I just actually did my Reiki Master certificate just before we left, because I didn't know how long we're going to stay there. So I wanted to do the certificate with the same teacher who did the labor 1, labor 2. So while I was there, I started to do Reiki healings on myself. But my goal was basically to get a job or to stay in New Zealand, or to do, to reach our goals. And then that's why I was doing the healing. But it was so funny because when I was talking to my Reiki master, she said, the thing what the healing was doing to you is just accepting what it is, is accepting whatever comes. You still feel resilient, you still feel okay with it. Like even to stay or even to leave, right? So I was doing these healings every day. And then suddenly, like after 6 months, one day I felt really weird. I felt like disconnected from Earth, like from the 3D. And then I felt very weird. I felt like I'm leaving my body. I even freaked out. So, but then I had to do some grounding exercise. And then as a result, some programming happened to my brain, which did not allow me to eat certain food groups. So literally, I went into the kitchen and I felt this limitation that I can't eat anything which includes white flour, processed sugar, dairy products, and alcohol. Like these were like literally, I looked at those foods and I know, no. And then later my husband came with a bottle of wine. He put it on the counter, and then I came to the kitchen and I looked at the wine and I was like, oh shit, this is on the list. So I immediately knew that I was cut it from that as well. So no alcohol. And it was really interesting because it's like when I looked at a donut, it seemed to me like a piece of sponge or like a soap or something, like something uneatable. So when my brain knew that thing contains one of those ingredients, it was completely shut it off from my senses to even have cravings. So it was easy to lose weight and not to eat those things because it was blocked from me. And energetically, I was thinking that maybe I raised my vibration so high that my body rejected everything which was low vibrational food, and that's how it happened. Or it's just like a personal programming, whatever it happened to me. But basically, it allowed me to smoothly get rid of like 2-3 kilos every month. It was like coming off.
That was happiness. Talk about, right? Oh my God, what a feeling of accomplishment.
Yeah. And then eventually, like after 10 months, the 20 kilos gone, it was like going from size L to size S. I've been size S when I was 18, and then I was like, okay, it's cool. So I was.
Well, I want to ask you honestly, what happened with your husband? He lost his wine sharing wife, but he gained. But then he gained a new svelte model that he was living with. How did he react to all of that?
Actually, we were not in a good term back then because after coming back from New Zealand, he took a job in another town, and then he was still under the stress of the relocations, and he felt like he lost, the game because we couldn't stay there. He really liked it there, so he felt like not betrayed, but he defeated, in that thing. So he was a bit depressed, and because of that, he was not a kind person to me for like a couple of months, and then I decided I don't want to take that kind of toxicity.
You don't need him displacing that onto you.
Yeah. So I didn't want that toxicity. I didn't want that kind of treatment. And then we discussed that. We talked about it. I gave him, all kinds of ultimatums, and then eventually I left with my children to here to London. Yeah.
And I want to ask you about your healing techniques, because you combine ancient healing techniques with modern neuroscience. So for those listening who would like to heal in 30 days and work with you or whatever, how do you blend these approaches to help your clients experience health and wholeness?
So the main modality I use is karma yoga healing. It has nothing to do with yoga asanas. So it's not about, doing those.
Can you spell that? What is it? It's
karma yoga.
Oh, karma, Karma.
Yeah. So it's karma yoga healing. Yeah.
Karma yoga healing.
It's more about accessing our multidimensional existence. It's more about going back to even past life traumas to heal and this lifetime traumas to heal in the unconscious mind. Also accessing the family unconscious to heal ancestral traumas and ancestral karma. So what is happening during karma yoga healing is we get access to this multidimensional existence, and we are able to heal those, rewrite the past, and then we create a brand new future because we rewrite the past. And this is rewritten in the Akashic records, actually. So in this within this modality, I use the source memory healing if we deal with PTSD, for example, or depression, we use the source memory healing to find those memories which are buried in the unconscious mind, which is the core of the trauma. And then we release them, we heal them, we rewrite them. And then basically that's the client's experiencing a huge relief, a happiness, a joy, and then can move on with a completely new future. And that's the source memory healing. I also have other meditations in my meditation library for ancestral chakra healing, for karma healing, releasing karmic debts, releasing ancestral karmas. So it's a very complete package, because when I was learning this, I was actually attending several courses and several trainings of the same mentor. But I decided that I'm going to blend it all together. I'm going to create a program when I allow my clients to go through it in 30 days, and we don't leave any stone unturned, basically. And we go through this, and then what I realized that in 30 days, they go from depression, feeling miserable, and then end of the 4 weeks, basically 30 days, they are happy, they are encouraged, they all see the purpose and their vision, and they moving forward like crazy, and they more fearless, more empowered, more joyful. So that's the transformation I see.
Do you do this both remotely?
I do everything remotely. Everything
is done remotely. So if someone's in America and they want to, help them heal in 30 days, you could work with them.
Yeah. I have many American and Canadian clients. I also have clients in in Australia, in Asia. So I operate everywhere.
Right. And this is a chance for us to educate people in a way, because everybody's always hearing about the subconscious, the unconscious, and the superconscious. And I'm sure many people are like, what in the world is that? So you teach that most of our lives run on autopilot through the subconscious, the unconscious, and the superconscious minds. Why is it important to reprogram the subconscious, release emotional trauma from the unconscious, and align with the superconscious? Please educate us.
Yeah, so when we have some dreams, when we want to achieve something, that kind of thoughts coming in the conscious mind, right? So the conscious mind is coming up with some idea most of the time, because we're watching something, we see an advertisement, we see some friends doing something, or somehow comes an idea like, I want to do that, or I want to create this or that. So you have this dream, but then you have the subconscious programming, which you received before you were 7 years old, and you were walking around in theta brainwaves, and you were like a sponge, and then everything which was in your environment you sucked in.
So you had messages you got from your parents and all the people in
exactly
your world.
From school, from friends, anybody who were like an influencer around you, basically. Culture, TV, internet, anything. So when maybe you are shut in your room and then you were just watching the YouTube, then that's your influencer, not the parents. So it depends whatever you were eating or consumed in that 7 years. So that's formed your subconscious beliefs and then habits. So you can see children who's having same habits as parents, and then you can also see, how they interact, how they speak, what kind of beliefs they have about certain cultures, religions, is what their parents has or what their environment. So basically, if you have those beliefs and habits, then how they align with your future plans? Are they sabotaging your future plans, or are they actually self-sabotaging you to create or take those steps towards your future plans? If you realize that you are stuck, most likely you are self-sabotaging yourself, either with these beliefs and habits, or other could be you have fears and you have emotional blockages. That's why you're not moving forward, because you are having like traumatic experiences that you haven't resolved, and that's why you're getting always triggered. And then because you're getting triggered, you always feel betrayed, you feel like a failure, you feel all that kind of negative emotions, anger, sadness, and that's why you can't move forward. So either these two things is what is blocking you usually from moving forward.
And people are not aware of that, right? So you help them get in touch with that.
Yes, absolutely. So sometimes they don't know, like, okay, I know what I want. I'm taking action, but sometimes they kind of realize like why I'm overthinking, why I'm not taking action yet, why I need to wait another 2 months, or why I am feeling so upset when someone does this and that, why I feel discouraged, suddenly, or why I'm unmotivated. So there could be certain times when they feel like they're not doing enough, but they don't know what is blocking them, or why they can't take that action, or why they feel like they have the information what to do, they have the way to do it, but they still don't take action, So that's already a sign that something needs to be changed, within them.
And then what is the superconscious?
Superconscious is basically the universe. And then when we having these big, great ideas, it's most likely coming from over there. It's not your own little brain created that. So and then when you channel, when you see a vision, or that's coming from your blueprint, which was already created by the universe for you. So you're getting access to that. And then the superconscious mind is also who's kind of creating you some challenges through your karma, So when you're having those past life karma or ancestral karma, you kind of can blame the superconscious for those situations as coming back to you as challenges in your life.
So you get through what you do, you get them to get in touch with not only the conscious, which they're aware of, but now they learn about the subconscious, and then they also learn about what the superconscious is doing for them so they can identify that.
Yeah, so with the superconscious is what is interesting. You learn also more like forgiveness, surrendering, like you can't always just push and move forward and override yourself, overwhelm yourself, exhaust yourself, because it's not always the time to push. How to surrender, how to get aligned with portals, certain numerological or astrological portals, which again align with the superconscious. So that's important to understand, because we are not a machine. We are humans. We need to have that cycles, and then we need to be aligned with the cycles to reach our goals.
All right. Okay. So now I want to go to the body, mind, soul connection. You talk about mindfulness that you feel is essential for each of us to understand. And somehow I have a feeling that's a little bit connected to what we just talked about. So could you talk about how the body, mind, soul connection affects what's happening to us and how we heal from that?
Yeah. So when people have some issues, like let's say mental health issues, like PTSD or panic attacks, sometimes they thinking like, okay, I need to work on my mind, or I need to work on my mindset or my resilience. But very often when they have like harsh anxiety symptoms, it could be also because their body is lacking nutrients, or their body is lacking, vitamins or some supports, which could keep their vessel much more resilient and stronger. I realized it on myself as well, and also on my clients, that when they were having like iron deficiency or vitamin B deficiency, their panic attacks was much more severe, like it, or other symptoms. Anxiety was severe because they were not having enough nutrients. And also the coffee drinkers should know that if you drink your morning coffee, when you take your supplements, some of the supplements not gonna get dissolved in your body because the coffee is kind of canceling them out. And many people doesn't know that. They just, consume everything and they think it's gonna go on to the right place, but it's not always the case. So understanding your body, your system, your physical body is really important to know what to consume, how to consume, what food is good for you, what is not good for you, especially if you already have mental health issues, right? Then it's not recommended to drink alcohol or drink caffeine, because that's just gonna make it worse. And that's the body part. So I'm always talking with my clients about this as well, what they eat, how they sleep, what habits they have, exercise, whatever, because we need to fix that as well. We're not just going and then straight into spiritual healing, So that's one thing. And the mindfulness is the mind is like when we did the body part, and then when we do this with did the spiritual healing, when we healed the past lives, and then we healed the ancestral karma and ancestral trauma, then we need to understand that they can actually mindfully talk to themselves that, yes, I am safe, I am secure, I am ready to move on, I am actually feel great. Because sometimes even they go through those healings and it's not gonna come up. Sometimes they wake up in the morning and they look and then they say, what if I'm gonna still have an attack? What if I'm gonna still, they're still thinking, because they were so accustomed to it. They had it in their whole life, like, or maybe for years, and then they are like, is it possible that today nothing gonna happen to me, and then they have that thoughts. And then that's why mindfulness is great. And then I recommend to my clients that put some sticky notes around you, if to wake up in the morning and look at it like, I am safe, I am looked after, the universe is with me, I am safe, so understand that they are, because many people feels so alone, often they feel like they are alone, they are unsupported, they are unloved. But if you understand that you are never alone. You have your spirit guides, your angels, ascended masters. The whole universe is there watching you all the time. You are kind of like their little puppets and they just playing with you. So basically then you're never alone. You're never alone. You are under watching all the time.
Right. Well, my story, certainly, and our listeners know my story, proves that we're never alone. I mean, look at what happened to me with that accident and all right, and what we're doing now. So I want to talk about your wonderful book, your new book. It's called The Gap Filler Success. And in it, you introduce a 5-step holistic transformation method.
Yes, this one.
There it is.
Yeah,
Blending,
just to show how it looks.
right, yes. You blend emotional healing, mindset work, and practical action. So explain how this helps people move from feeling stuck to stepping into their potential, from feeling emotional heaviness to freedom, and from dreaming to doing, and anything else you would hold it up again you'd like everyone to know about your book.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, so basically the gap filler success, it's simple steps to reach your goals. So when I was looking at back my life, and then I was thinking like how I reach my goals, I always was a goal getter. You know, I always had goals, and then I was just going through it, and I had strategic thinking and then doing when I was approaching it, but I didn't really had the awareness. And then when I was thinking about writing this book, I was like, okay, how did I do it? You know, and then that's why I do like 2 parts of this book. Like the first part is for people who doesn't really believe in spirituality, because actually in the first 15 years of my career, like I wasn't that spiritual either, but I still reached my goals. You know, I was still a goal getter. And then I put in the part 1 the strategies, the actions, the way of how I approach things, what helped me, what supported me, and what would be an amazing habit or actions to take for people who's reading this book and to bring them closer to their goals. So that's the part 1. The part 2 is for people who believe in law of attraction, astrology, numerology, healing, subconscious reprogramming, to help them to get their goals. Because that was the other side when I already been spiritual and realized how much faster I'm reaching my goals when I add those into it, you know, into the blend. And then basically using those knowledge and using visualization, meditation, subconscious, all of these things. And that's in the second part of the book. There is even a meditation at the end of the book, what people can use to parallel jump into their new reality. And I also explain how the other things support that, and how to take actions or what directions. Why is this book so great? Because I know that many people is sitting there, they have their amazing idea, or they want to reach their goals, and they don't know what action to take next. They kind of like, okay, I would like to take this action, but should I take this action or should I do that? So it's kind of like narrowing it down for them to make it more simple. Like if you take these couple of actions, then you're gonna reach your goal, because that's why I did it, and it's worked so many times in so many situations.
So you've seen all these people reach their goal in 30 days, basically?
No, it's not about that. No, it's not about
That's
that.
a different thing.
Is a different thing. The 30 days about when you're feeling miserable, when you have a grief, or when you have a depression or PTSD, then you actually do that 30 days program with me, when I do one-on-one sessions and I give you access to my meditations and so on and so forth. So that's the 30 days. And I will tell you some story about how the people
I would love to hear a couple of your client stories. Yeah. Give us a couple of stories.
And then the book is more about like reaching your goals, which could take around a couple of months to 1 year. It depends how big is that goal. Usually when I had like big goals, I gave myself a year to complete them, or now sometimes it takes only 2-3 months because of the spiritual aspects, but or you can have like a 5 years plans, you know, whatever. So this book is more like helping you to reach other kinds of goals, even, you know, weight loss, or it could be, you know, even your healing goals, you know, whatever it is, just what action to take. It's really practical. It's really helping a lot of people to put in practice what they just dreaming of, you know.
Right. Wow. Give us a client success story.
Yeah.
Get us to meet somebody wonderful you've worked with and kind of transformed their lives.
Yeah. So I had a couple of ladies last year who were really amazing. It's one of them was really outstanding. So she came to me with depression. We knew each other for years, and sometimes people just watching me or knowing me but they need an urgency to actually reach out and do the work, you know. So she had the urgency. She received a message from a doctor that she has a tumor, you know, a cancer tumor. But then so she freaked out and she reached out. But we also seen that she has other issues. You know, she has depression. She has also other issues in her life, which we should have taken care of long time before, But anyway, we started to work together for 4 weeks. And then meanwhile, we were working together. She got another message from the doctor that, it's actually everything is fine, is nothing cancerous. So she already was happy about the new message. And then at the end of the 4 week, what happened, in couple of weeks later, I've seen her popping up everywhere in social media, and I was like, what's going on with this woman? And then she was like launching a new podcast. She was writing new books, novels, children books. So within like couple of months, she was publishing books. She was launching she was doing other stuff. And then I was messaging her like, hi, how are you doing? I mean, what happened to you? It's so amazing what you're doing. And she was like, you happened to me. I was like, okay. So basically, this whole process opened up her completely, opened up her vision, opened up her personality. She said she feels so confident now. She feels so empowered and just feels just rolling, with all of her ideas. Right. And she feels also joyful and amazing because she can put down all of her things in that creativity, basically. I had another lady, she came to me again in a very terrible time when she was in the middle of a divorce. It wasn't an ordinary divorce. It was completely betrayers all over the place, financial, whatever you can imagine. So it was a very ugly divorce. And then she also went through a grieving her mom. And then she also was in a bad relationship with her teenagers, whatever. So it was complete mess, terrible situation. And then she was still able to, smile and then, take it how she took it, but she was suffering a lot. And basically we started to work together, and 1 year later, now she's happy with a new man. They are completely in love. She's moving in with him. She was even moving back then, after the divorce, she was moving to a new apartment, and she actually moved closer to the place where this man was living, so they started to date and stuff like that. And then within 1 year now, she left the apartment and moved in with him. So basically now is a complete happiness because she's in a very she used to have a toxic family environment with her after her mom passed away, and then the whole environment. And now she's in a beautiful new family with the new partner, and his family members, accepted her better than her own blood family. So sometimes people are confused about like how to react in their own family, how to set boundaries, how to deal with their own family members. And sometimes it's you need to give up on hoping or
that they'll change. They're not going to change. You're going to change.
It's difficult. And then sometimes you find your blessings or happiness in another kind of people who's not blood family. I was lucky with my mom, I can say, because if you start your healing really, take it really seriously and you start your healing, it can affect your family members and then they can change and shift. But her kids were actually adopted. So they were not bloodline. So it was a bit different story. But the other thing is that my mom changed a lot as I was healing, and then I also introduced her to meditations, and she also went to Reiki healings to my Reiki Master. So she went through also healings, but as I was healing our ancestral line, she also gets, I think, a lot of things from there, because our relationship went from a lot of arguments and fighting to a very peaceful, now is like a best buddies relationship.
Oh, that's beautiful. Let me ask you something though, because people aren't necessarily in touch with that parts of their ancestral line is toxic, and that a lot of the problems that they got is from that. They're not, in a lot of ways they protect the perpetrators or the people who were wounded themselves and did this. So how do you get people in touch with that piece? And is this something like you would call ancestral grief, because they have to grieve? It's a loss in a way when they realize what their ancestors are. Tell us about that, because I know you do a lot of healing with ancestral grief, and the process of feeling, releasing, integrating, and transforming seems to help people break those generational patterns and experience a metamorphosis. Can you explain that in layman's terms for the rest of us, please?
Yeah, so when we're working with ancestors, is really complex, and you're not doing it alone. You always need to invite like other characters like spirit guides, ascended masters. It's a very, and then you also include the supreme pure consciousness into that healing process. So it's a deeper healing. It's going through many layers. It requires a very profound healing practice or healing steps, to actually get to the right place, release the right things from the right ancestors. It's a step-by-step process as we're going through in this healing. And then you actually, as you communicate with the family unconscious, you're going to be guided in that healing process in the higher dimensions to reach the answers and to release them and properly heal them. So basically you heal your ancestors, and that's reflecting down into your life. It's really amazing how it feels, because it takes a couple of weeks sometimes. It's so funny because sometimes you do the healing and at a certain time, and then like 2-3 weeks later you just bang, it's just something shift like crazy. Is because it takes a bit of time until it comes down to you. And but it's really profound, it's really powerful, and sometimes is not clear that something which is happening in your life is ancestral related. But when you start looking into your ancestors, when you spend time to speak with your grandma or grandpa, and then you're finding some stories, and stuff like, you will realize that there is always a little bit of darkness everywhere, and in everybody's family there is always maybe an abortion, or there is a divorce, or a cheating, or whatever is going on, and so those things is already creating karma, ancestral karma, and you can inherit those, and that can also bring you challenges. And we talked about mindfulness. You asked me about the mindfulness and how it comes into the healing. Karma is something what you can also stop karmic cycles through mindfulness, because what's happening is how karma appears in your life. There is a challenge, there is a decision you need to make in your life, and then in this decision you need to realize, if I choose this, I'm gonna create misery for others and myself, or maybe it's gonna be good for me for a while, but probably the other people will suffer. So do I choose that because I'm selfish and egoistic, or I choose the other way, I give up on my desire because I know I would ruin other people's life, and then I actually allow it to how it been, or how it's the best for the more people, right? And then I put away my egoism. So when you are in that kind of decision, and then you decide on looking at other people's life as well, not just yourself, then if you take that decision, you basically break the cycle, the karmic cycle, and then you won't get similar challenges in the future. Is, for example, let's say a very easy way, like you fall in love with someone who's already married. That's a karmic debt. So you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't actually break up a marriage, right? Or desire someone who's married, because it can be a karma. It's most likely a karma you already inherited either from your ancestors or from your past life. And then if you actually do that, eventually that marriage is gonna have some negative aspects later, some more pain, some more disaster, whatever, because it comes from not a nice situation. So there are this kind of, or karmic debts is even being angry, and then using harsh words. Lying is karmic debts. If you start lying to people, or you feel like you need to lie all the time, and then it's always gonna come to you. There is always gonna be a situation you feel like you need to lie, because otherwise there is no other way. But there is always another way, right? You always can choose the not lying. You can always choose to be nice and kind. It's your choice to stop your karmic cycles.
It sounds to me like you're making them conscious.
Yeah, it's the mindfulness.
You're examining, it's mindfulness, because you're helping them to become aware, which they weren't even aware of, how they've been affected by their ancestry and the things. And this was very enlightening to me when I started learning and healing this for myself. And so they're learning about the roots of some of their issues that they didn't even know they had. Now they identify the issues, right? And now they set about they choose to transform that dynamic, to change that. And now they're becoming conscious of how it's affecting them, and they're changing it now, because it's not such a part of them anymore, where they weren't even aware. Would you say that's a good portrayal? So do you have, now that everybody's all turned down and they all want to have a session with you, do you have a promotion or an offering for our Grief and Rebirth podcast audience?
Yeah, because I know that you also attract many people who's already a healer or already want to be a light worker or a light worker. I actually decided to bring in to promotion for my karma yoga healing training, because I also teach karma yoga healers. Because what happened in 2022, my clients started to ask me like, oh, we love this program, how we transformed, but I'm a Reiki master, but I want to provide this kind of healings to my clients. And then that was the time when my mentor passed away. So I couldn't send them to anybody, where to learn it. So I decided to create the program myself, which I can actually do online with a wider audience, around the globe. So in 2023-24, I actually done a lot of live trainings, and now I'm actually just selling it in the recorded version, so you can enroll anytime. And for your listeners, I'm giving 50% off right now. So if they click the link, what is provided,
it'll be in the show notes, everybody. So
yeah, and there's gonna be a code. There's gonna be a discount code for the 50% off, so they can learn the program from this training. They can know how to do these healings. They can learn about how it's created, and then where is it coming from, and all the history of it. And also after they practice in my community, because I have facilitators who already done the training, so they can practice each other, and then they have an exam with me, a certification.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And speaking of that, you've said that time won't heal. That healing does not have to take a lifetime. Could you explain that to us?
Yeah, many people saying that after a while they feel, let's say, more in peace with something, what happened a long time ago, and they believe like, oh, probably I got healed from it. But then something happens and they got triggered, and they don't know that they got triggered because of that situation, because it was buried in the unconscious mind, and then they think that it's something else, what is triggered them, or they got a disease, and they don't know why they got the disease. I had a client who actually came to me after a heart situation, and then it turned out that she had two big griefs. Her nephew and her brother died a couple of years ago, and then eventually she got this heart issue, and then she was actually left her body and came back, and now she has a pacemaker. So basically the heart chakra is which mostly affected by grief. So who's not healing the grief properly when it's happening, when you're experiencing grief and you don't go deep into the unconscious mind to heal it and release it, it can eventually have a heart chakra issue, which means breast cancer, lung cancer, heart disease, anything which is related to heart chakra blockages can actually become a disease. Yeah.
Wow. So it's a very good reason to heal, so that
absolutely to prevent diseases, because people many times don't know. Yeah.
And to have actually, as you heal, it enables you to experience joy in your life. So that's my next question. Do you believe that we can create joy even after profound loss?
Absolutely. I've seen it in many people and in my life. Yes, joy is one of the highest vibrational emotion. Like it's raising your vibration, and then you can create joy just doing what you love, So if you are mindfulness is also about positive thinking, positive emotions, and positive actions, so the consequences of your actions. So basically when you having positive thoughts about like the future or the present moment, and you feel great about it, then your emotions are positive, then you can feel joy just looking at birds, or you can feel joy just eating your favorite food, or you can feel joy in just dancing or doing something really little. So you can find joy in many little activities or many little things, or even thought patterns. It's easy to bring joy, and I encourage people that even if you are having grief, or if you are down, sad, or I don't recommend people to sit there too long, because when you sit in your pain too long, you blocking your chakras, and when you're blocking your chakras, again, the prana energy can't go through your organs, and then they're gonna get affected, and your well-being is gonna affect it. So when you have the time, or you have the strength, pull yourself out of the rabbit hole and count your blessings, because whatever happened to you, I'm sure there is still blessings in your life, that you can still count your blessings. It doesn't matter how small it is. If you breathe the air, you're already blessed, right? So count your blessings, raise your vibration, find something little to feel joy, because there is always there on you.
All right. And even if you're breathing, that joy can still exist, which is so important. Edith, I want to conclude our interview with this important quote from your book, The Gap Filler Success. And I love this quote. When you're triggered, say, by betrayal, sadness, or anger, those emotions are tied to unresolved memories in your subconscious. Healing is about going inward and releasing those buried emotions. When you do that, the triggers stop, the reactions stop, and you become resilient. The emotional roller coaster becomes a smooth ride. This is mindfulness, living with awareness, managing your internal world, and consciously shaping your life from the inside out. Edith, your life journey embodies the very heart of grief, healing, and profound rebirth. Thank you for helping so many people find their way from deep emotional suffering to inner peace. And from my heart, this has been a wonderful interview. Thank you, and I wish you abundant blessings always.
Thank you, Irene. Thank you.
And as I like to say, to be continued. Thanks for tuning in to Grief and Rebirth. Remember, you can dive deeper into everything we've discussed by checking out the show notes and all past episodes at griefandrebirth.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to our channel at Healing from Grief and never miss a video. For those of you listening, you'll find links to my 2 books, Good to the Last Drop and They Serve Bagels in Heaven, in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see those books listed right above, so don't miss out. And here comes a special treat. If you sign up for Audible as a first-time user using my link, which you can find in the show notes, you can get They Serve Bagels in Heaven for free. And finally, people often ask me what I read, what I use, and what I recommend for healing and self-care. So I've carefully curated a compilation of those items to share with you. You can head over to www.amazon.com/shop/Irene S. Weinberg to check them out. And to my cherished Grief and Rebirth podcast fans, stay tuned and see you again soon.